David Stops, welcome to Prog and Progeny.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, you've been part of the Marillion story for many years, right from the very beginning. When I first joined the band, one of the first things I remember doing with Fish was going to meet you. I don't know if you remember that meeting.
I do, vaguely.
Yeah. It was obviously made more of an impression on me than it did on you. I remember because you lived in that nice big house in Aylesbury, right in the centre. It was quite an impressive property with wooden floors, and I'd never been in a house that big when I was young, so I think I was like, wow, this guy's really successful, and a long time ago. How did you end up as the promoter of Friars Aylesbury?
We started in 1969, which is a long time ago.
Yeah. What were you, 15 then? 12? How old were you?
21.
Right.
I was 21. Yes, I'm older than you think.
Everybody's
getting their...
I was surprised.
Everybody's getting their calculator out at the moment and saying, it's 21, 1969. But yeah, it was Robin Pike, who's a local schoolmaster, came to me and said, why don't we do something in Aylesbury? And I remember saying to him, not sure about Aylesbury, maybe Wickham, because Wickham had a bigger population.
Right.
And he said, I really want to do it in Aylesbury. I said, well, okay, we could give it a try, I suppose. So we found this little 400 capacity venue in Walton Street called New Friars Hall, and we started on June the 2nd, 1969, with a psychedelic band called Mandrake Paddle Steamer.
Never heard of them.
And a blues, no, very good though.
Okay.
And a blues player called Mike Cooper.
Right.
And we chose Monday nights because nobody booked bands on Monday nights, so we had a big choice.
Okay,
for Monday
smart,
nights,
yeah.
From all sorts of bands. So the first night, but that was the first night. The second night was the Pretty Things.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah. The third night was free.
Wow. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, and the fourth night, King Crimson.
In 1969, you had King Crimson. Well, that was probably round about the time they released In the Court of the Crimson King, wasn't it?
That was exactly the time they released it. And Greg Legg was on bass, of course.
Yeah. Robert Fripp on guitar.
It was a sensational night.
Wow.
And on the King Crimson box set, which they brought out last year, it's heavily featured.
Right. Excellent. I'll have to check that out.
And then we just went on from there for 56 years.
Right.
And we're still doing it, and we have Marillion on the 21st of September.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh. Yeah, so the Friars Hall, that was why you called it the Friars Club, right?
Yes,
okay,
that's right.
I didn't know that. Yeah, so because by the time I moved to Aylesbury to join Marillion, you'd already moved to the Civic Centre, so...
we were closed down in 1970 in the New Friars Hall, and then we started again in the Borough Assembly Hall.
Okay.
In the Market Square. That went on for 4 years, and then we moved to the Civic Centre in 1975.
Yeah, I know people from Aylesbury that grew up there who say that the Borough Assembly Hall period was probably the best in terms of the atmosphere of the club and the bands that you had on, because you had like Mott the Hoople and Genesis and who else was there? There was David Bowie and it was lots of well-known bands. Yeah, David got a really nice message from Peter Gabriel. Was that for your 70th that you shared with me?
Yeah, 70th birthday. Yeah, it's very nice of him. I mean, the first time we put on Genesis was actually at the early hall, the New Friars Hall, in 1970. And we paid them £10 for 2 45-minute sets. Right? And it was great.
Right.
And then the next gig, it was £25. Mm-hmm. Then it went to £30, then £50, then 75, and then 100. And when we paid them 100, Peter Gabriel had me to come out on stage, and he said, "This guy is the first person in the world to ever pay us £100, and we're really grateful to him."
Wow.
Oh my God.
I can remember the first time we got paid £100. It was our Scottish tour in 1982. It was a tour of pubs. and some pub somewhere in, I can't remember, I think it might have been the Cane Park Hotel in Bathgate. We were paid £100. We were absolutely amazed. I was given the job of looking after the money for the band on that tour, and I was terrible. But we didn't have much, but being paid £100 for a gig was a lot. And then I remember being paid £500 to play the marquee, that was proper money then. So, you know, we were...
Yeah.
What would the equivalent have been of £100?
If you got paid £100 as a band, probably 5 nights a week, you could live on that, I think, back then. Just about.
Yeah. So £500 a week?
£100 each a week. You could just
live on that now?
No, but what, 5 people?
Oh, no, you could.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the BBC did a poll recently about different generations, and did they think they were lucky to be born when they were? And my generation, at 75 to 85, said they were the most grateful for being born when they were, because they could buy a house. You know, you could afford to buy a house. You could do all sorts of stuff. Now,
hard.
with Gen Z,
Tallulah, what do you think?
It's so difficult. It's so difficult.
I'm going to be able to buy a house.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it would be a good 10 years before I probably can.
Yeah, possibly. I have to say, we bought our first house in 1983, so Marillion hadn't really become that successful, but we were able to afford to buy a house. So, I feel like I was born just a few years too late, because I missed out on the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s for music. I would have loved to have seen all those bands, and I was just a bit too young.
Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, my house, the one that you met me at the first time, I paid £17,500 for.
Wow.
You know, that's what I paid for it. It was sold, I think, about 2 years ago for 1.3 million.
Yeah.
What?
But that gives you some idea. It's now a fantastic charity called Red Balloon, who help kids who can't cope with school.
Right.
You know, they get too anxious at school, they get bullied or whatever, and they asked me to actually open it.
That's nice.
And we had our MP there and all sorts, and I said, no, get the MP to do it. They're much more important than I am. They said, no, we want you to do it.
Well, that makes sense.
So I opened it. In my speech, I said, and that front room over there, that's where Fish fired me.
So you remember that then?
Oh, yeah, you were there.
I know.
Talk about that.
So the thing was, Fish said to me, I want you to meet David Stopps. He's by then, you know, he'd already put the band on in various support slots, starting with opening for Spirit, I think it was, John Cooper Clarke, who funnily enough was managed by John Arneson, who did become a manager after David. And then there was John Martin was another one. So any chance David got, basically, he would put Marillion on as the support band for bands that came through. Friars, you know. So the band had already played there 3 or 4 times at least by the time I joined at the end of 81. And then Fish said to me, I want you to come and meet David Stopps. So he took me round to his house. I remember we hitchhiked from where we lived in Aston Clinton because we didn't have a car, and went in and met David. And I remember asking you to manage us, and you turned us down. Do you remember that? Probably more than once.
I know that Fish wanted me to manage the band.
Yeah, you would.
I'm sure you did as well. Yeah. And I was reluctant.
Yeah.
You know, because I was very busy as a promoter.
Right.
And that summer in '82, we were putting on the Clash at Stoke Mandeville Stadium. We were putting on the Police, Joe Jackson, Simple Minds.
Yeah.
And various other. It was a busy time for us, and it was going really well.
Right.
And I always remember Fish saying to me, I can just imagine you at Madison Square Garden in the wings as we go on, you know. and I remember him saying that, and he really was pushing me. And of course, in the end, I agreed to do it.
So do you remember when that was?
Yeah, that was 82.
Sort of around about May? Maybe April?
Yeah, March, April, May.
Yeah.
Somewhere around April, perhaps.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the irony of that is that with Howard Jones, who I then went on to manage, we did headline Madison Square Garden.
And you opened for him, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually played in front of 17,000 people.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was a bet from when we'd been in Edinburgh a couple of years before. But
Did you lose?
yeah, I sort of did, really. I mean, it was my birthday. I have to tell you this. It's rather long-winded. I've got so many stories. You have to just stop me. But we were in Edinburgh, an Indian restaurant. We were on a tour with China Crisis.
Yeah.
We were supporting them. We were getting paid £50 a night. And there was a guitar hanging on the wall. And, I plonked around on guitar. So we had a few drinks. And I said, oh, can I play that guitar? So they said, yeah, you can play it. So I got it down. And I played this song, Little Old Wine Drinker Me, by Dean Martin.
Right.
And Howard said, yeah, it was just a laugh. Howard said, look, if we ever play Madison Square Garden, that big place in New York, you've got to come out and play that. And I said, yeah, all right, yeah, I'm sure we're going to play Madison Square Garden, do us a favour. And anyway, in 1987, we did headline Madison Square Garden. I thought he'd forgotten it. I was keeping completely quiet. I remembered it, but I was hoping he'd forgotten it. Then one night on the bus, about a month before, he said, do you remember that night in Edinburgh where it was your birthday? And I said, vaguely. And he said, and you said you'd come out and play that song. And I said, oh, no, you've remembered it. Okay. So I went into Guitar Centre in LA and I bought a guitar, learned it, got my secretary to fax me the lyrics, and I learnt it, and I went out and played it.
Well done. We took you on as our manager, and my recollection was, first thing you said to us, you need to get yourself some stage clothes. And you made us all go out and buy stage clothes. And I told the story in the book about my green nylon jumpsuit that made me sweat profusely on stage. I think I only wore it about 3 times. It was just so hot. But yeah, so, and then within a few weeks, Fish was already making noises about, because I think it was just he had this idea that, you'd start managing, and as you said, you were really busy with all the gigs that you were already committed to, and he thought you'd go around the record companies, get us a record deal. Things were kind of heating up for us because we had the marquee, we were playing regularly and all that stuff. And of course, after a few weeks, he's like, "Oh, nothing's happening. David's not going to get us a deal." We were all, everybody's getting a bit antsy, and he's like, "I think we should fire him." I'm like, "Okay," but I didn't agree with it. But I was like, I was still relatively new in the band, and yeah, it was probably a big mistake, I think, on balance.
Well, I think you had a rule in the band, didn't you? You may still have it, that if one person didn't want to do something, it didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think that we ran into the same problem again with Fish when we hired Jonathan Mover on drums, and he took a dislike to him. The rest of us liked him and thought he was good, but Fish didn't want him, and that was it. He was out. So, but
so I think the vibe I got was that the band wanted me to stay, apart from Fish.
Yeah.
And because one person didn't want it, that's the way the decision had to go. I remember I was already investigating buying a van for you, buying a PA for
I remember
you to
that,
take on the road. Yeah, and all sorts of things. And I came to all the marquee gigs. I was talking to EMI Records. Was it Ashley?
Ashley Goodall.
A guy called Ashley, or
Ashley Goodall, brother of Howard Goodall, the composer. Yeah.
But my approach was, let's just build it up live until all the record companies want to sign you, and then when all the record companies want to sign you, you can get the best deal, you can get the best terms on the deal, and you can get the biggest advances.
Which was absolutely the right thing to do.
That would have been the right thing to do.
That was it. I said, but let's get on the road. I'll buy you a PA. I'll buy you a van. We'll build this up. And that was, I think, at the same time that you headlined, didn't you? For the first time, you headlined Friars and sold it out.
Yes.
It was
summer of '82, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the 19th of June, '82.
So you were still managing us at that point. Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
And it was a big moment. I thought, right, this is really motoring now.
Yeah, yeah.
if we can do it here, we can do it all over the country. And then we get the record deal, when they're all really excited about it.
Why didn't we see that? Well,
I don't know. And I remember Fish saying, I don't think you'd get the contract right or something. I said, but what do you think lawyers are for?
Yeah.
And he had to admit, I remember him saying, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Anyway, there's no point going over what might have been.
No, but when I was fired, I remember being incredibly upset. I mean, it really hit me emotionally.
Oh, God, I can imagine. Yeah.
And I had about 2 months of that, feeling quite depressed about it, really. Because I really wanted to do it, especially with this sellout at Friars. I thought, right, this is definitely going to work. I can, and I was really upset. And Howard Jones, who we'd had supporting you at the Marquee, because he didn't take up much space.
I remember that.
That was basically why we booked him. Yeah, because he was a one-man band.
Hits. When he'd had his first hit single, he was a bit of a pop idol, wasn't he? So he was in smash hits, and they interviewed him and asked him what was the worst experience of his life, and his reply was opening for Marillion at the Marquee.
Why?
Because our audience hated him. Well, I mean, it wasn't personal, because I think our audience hated everybody that wasn't Marillion. They were kind of crazy. We had the band the Cardiacs. We had to ask them to leave the tour because the people were throwing burning rags on the stage. So it wasn't just Howard. It wasn't personal.
Awful.
I know. Yeah, we were kind of embarrassed about our audience being so rabid and hostile.
They're not like that anymore,
No,
are they?
no.
They're lovely people now. They only throw tennis balls now.
Yeah.
Anybody who's watching this that was at the Marquee Club the night that Howard supported us, shame on you. So, but of course you went on to have major success with Howard, didn't you?
Well, yeah. So Howard then came to see me. He said, look, he was vegetarian, I was vegetarian. We had a lot in common. And I liked his music. And he said, would you manage us? And I said, oh, no.
Not doing that again.
After that Marillion experience, I'm not interested in management anymore. I'm done with that. Anyway, we talked, and I said, well, we'll give it a try. Just to see what happens, And that's when it started. And, but with you, I was going to the record company and saying, I've got this band that they're a little bit like Genesis, but they're their own band, and they've got fantastic stage presence, and they're going to be huge. But that was so untrendy to say, you're a bit like Genesis. It's like a Grendel, wasn't it? And Supper's Ready.
Well, nobody wanted to sign us. That's the truth. I mean, it was only it was those Marquee shows that got us the deal with EMI, because it was Hugh Stanley Clark saw us play, didn't get the music, didn't like the music. It was the audience that he saw and went, oh, maybe there's something in this. These kids are going crazy, and it's young kids as well. That was the thing. So, but
but that was quite difficult, because you, like I say, you weren't trendy, or you weren't
far from it.
That sort of music. And then I took on Howard. And I'd say, I've got a one-man band and a mime artist, And they said, that's the door over there.
Right, yeah. Howard had this guy called Jed who was like a mime artist. That used to sort of mime to the songs. It was something visual, because Howard was a keyboard player surrounded by keyboards. With he sang, but it wasn't like he had a lot of presence in, like a singer would on.
I'm starting to see why people threw fire rags at him.
But he's really good. I mean, Howard can really play. He's a great player, and it's just that his music was kind of more commercial than Marillion, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it definitely was. Anyway, I did the same thing. I got the residency at the Marquee for Howard. And we got coaches coming up from Aylesbury every Tuesday, just like you did. Same model, exactly the same model. And it worked. It really worked. Paul Conroy, who just joined Warner's, came and saw us, and he said, I really think this is good.
Right.
And then, it just snowballed.
And there was a kind of synth duo, synth artist type thing happening, wasn't there? There'd been Gary Newman, and then there was the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
And so Howard actually happened at the right time for what he was doing. It was perfect timing, really, wasn't it?
And it's interesting, because I prioritised the USA from day one. And then secondly, Japan. And then, well, the UK anyway, I suppose. The UK goes without saying that the UK is massively important. But then it was the USA and Japan.
Right.
And to this day, we've done really well, or he's done really well in America and Japan.
Now, we never made it in America, as you probably know. So
No. And if I'd been managing you, I would have done the same thing.
Right.
Because Genesis were huge over there.
Yeah.
So it would have been a very different story. And it's interesting that Nick Kershaw came up at the same time Howard did, but his manager focused on Germany and Italy and and not so much America. Whereas I went straight into America from day one.
Yeah.
And started working with the record companies there, and to this day Howard is big in America.
Yeah,
he's just done some dates with Rod Stewart in front of 20,000 people.
Right.
He's doing his own headline tour this summer around the sheds in America. He's done incredibly well, and yet if you go to Germany, Nick Kershaw's much bigger than he is.
As we are,
because his manager focused on
we
Germany.
tried to make it in America. We toured there in '83. So after we'd done the UK tour, we didn't go to Europe first of all. We did an American tour, which was cut short by the fact that we had a new drummer, Andy Ward, who was the drummer from Camel, who had some personal problems, and it was just impossible to continue touring. So we cut the tour short. So that was a disaster. And then we went back again on the back of having a big hit in Europe with Kaylee. It was all going great. We were playing, bigger, starting to play bigger venues. The Kaylee was getting in the charts, and then there was a whole payola scandal. You read the book, so the story of Walter Lee being filmed by the NBC News, handing over a bag of cash to a mafia guy on the evening news while we were on tour in America. And so of course it was like, EMI, or Capitol Records as it was in the States, were involved in payola, and all the radio stations just stopped playing all their records, and ours was one of them. So we went from being added to like 200 stations to nothing the following week, So it was a shame. But, so, you have your good luck and bad luck.
How long did you manage Marillion for?
5 weeks.
It's
not fair, not at all.
Such a small amount of time.
I know.
If you blink, you miss it.
Yeah.
We were really bad. I think I've apologised to you, but I'll apologise again. We treated you terribly.
Yeah.
After asking you and practically begging David to take on the band as a manager, then not giving him any chance. It was typical of how ruthless we were. Bands in general can be like that, I think. Sacking members and it's one of those.
Yeah, it was strange because I really thought of Fish as a friend.
Yeah.
He's got a charming side to him, absolutely charming, endearing, but he's also got that dark side. And to be honest, I don't think I'd have been able to deal with the dark side if we'd carried on. I don't know. Yeah, there was. But with Howard, I'm an old hippie. I haven't got a particularly dark side that I'm aware of, but with Howard, I got on really well with him. He was the same mindset as me, both vegetarian. Now I'm looking after Tom Bailey, which is an absolute dream to manage. He's absolutely amazing. He's vegan. He persuaded me to become vegan. So, we're all working away very happily together, very much on the same page.
You mean you wouldn't have been able to cope with the Machiavellian intrigue and constant backstabbing that went on in the Marillion camp over the years?
I think that would have been a challenge, shall we say. So I think it worked out for the best in a way.
Well,
but
that's
anyway,
true. Yeah. We're still here, so still making a living in music. So as you are.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But I remember the first single was Market Square Heroes. But that's after I was fired, and I think that was about October '82, something like that. That was released. And I remember on the cover you put dedicated to David R. Stops. Do you remember that? Printed on the cover
Right,
of
on the single. Wow. Was that...
Have you got the single still?
Yeah.
If you've got the single at home, dig it out and have a look. And I always thought that was you feeling bad about firing me.
Well, I think it was.
I thought, well, we better throw him a bone. Let's give him the credit on the first single.
Well, that was... I think that was quite a lot like Fish, you know. He would do something like that and then still feel good about you in some way, like, you know...
Didn't he do that in a gig after just firing someone who went on the stage?
Oh, that was Diz. Yeah. He literally
Diz, yeah.
He literally went on stage and dedicated the gig to the bass player that we'd just fired 5 minutes before, whilst quoting the opening lines of a song called "Assassin," which became the lead track on the second album.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the chart position. I think it was 60 on Market Square Heroes. It came in at number 60.
You've got a good memory.
Now that may not sound very impressive, but it was. I mean, to come in at 60 with your first single in the top 75, it's a fantastic achievement.
And we,
you know, I'm a big fan of Blossoms, as you know, and they have released 6 albums or something and loads of singles, and they're real poppy band. They're poppy songs.
like
They're
them,
really
yeah.
catchy songs. They've never entered the top 75 ever.
Really?
With a single. Wow. And yet they've had number one. Every album's gone to number one. So, you know, to come in at 60, that may not sound fantastic, but it was. It was brilliant. And then I think you released He Knows You Know.
Yeah.
And that did better. I think that came in at 35.
It did,
or
yeah.
something.
And then the album
Peaked
came
at
in at
35.
number 7, which was
Number 7.
Really good.
Yeah, and then you released Garden Party.
That got to number 16.
And that came in at 16. Yeah. That came in at 16. Which is absolutely amazing. And I mean, just you're on your way, you know. I mean, those chart positions were amazing. So when Howard released his first single in August '83, I thought, oh well, we're never going to reach the heights of Marillion.
Got to number 1.
But we'll have a damn good go. And it was 22 weeks in the chart. A new song by Howard.
Yeah, I remember it.
And it peaked in, I think, October '82 at number 3.
I remember. Didn't Fish say to you when Howard was like number 3 or something? He said, "Come on, David, it's not a competition." and
he came round to see me, I think, in November '83.
Right.
After we'd had the number 3 single, and we'd just released What Is Love, and that got to number 2.
Right.
So you know, we were flying at that point. And he came round, he knocked on my door, 15 Walker Terrace. He said, "This isn't some sort of competition, you know." And I said, "Actually, it is, Fish. It is." And I think we're winning. I think we're winning.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And he didn't come in. I was going to get him to come in and have a cup of tea, but you know, he just left. He just left at the door. Yeah.
We did a number of gigs at Friars, but then you stopped. Well, I suppose because of Howard, you were so busy with him. You stopped promoting gigs, didn't you, for quite a number of years?
Yeah. You know, we obviously, I made up with the band and Fish and everything. You know, it was a temporary blip, that doorstep thing. And we had put you on again several times with Fish. When was it?
We do. I think we did like a Christmas show one year, like 84 or something.
I put you on in March '83 with Peter Hamill.
We did December '83, December '84. We used to play Christmas tours where we would just do Christmas shows, like a short Christmas tour, and we'd always play in Aylesbury because it was our hometown, even though only Pete was the one. Yeah. Pete grew up in Aylesbury, the rest of us didn't, but we always came back to Friars. Yeah.
Where did Steve come? Wasn't Steve based here?
No, Steve was born and grew up in Whitby in Yorkshire. He moved down to join the band.
Oh, so I guess it was because of Mick Pointer and Diz. And
so it was Diz joined with Fish. So it was Mick. Brian was from Aylesbury, Brian Jellyman, and
that's right.
And Doug Irving, the original bass player, was also from around here.
So it's always been considered an Aylesbury band, you know. And there's a lovely interview with Fish actually on the Friars website where he says, you know, you know, this, I think it was in 2009 he did this interview, so quite a long time after he left. And he said, coming back to Friars, he said, I used to think the most important thing was that there was hot showers when you arrived on the bus. You're at a gig, at any gig. That if there was hot showers, oh, this is a good gig, this is good. But then he said, I realised that it's the welcome that's important. You know, and we always really welcomed bands. You know, we had flowering room. We'd go the extra mile or two to make sure bands were really feeling welcome and feeling happy. And he picked up on that. He really did pick up on that. He said, and that was the thing about Friars. And we still do that to this day. You know?
I know. When we play at the Waterside Theatre, which is a lovely venue, Tallulah, you should come to that. It's really nice. But David always puts on a very warm welcome. David always likes to introduce the bands on stage. 'Cause I suppose it goes back to your days when it was the Friars Club was
cool.
You know. So he would always play. What was that song? The Neil Young song, "Broken Arrow," was it?
No, it was
Clifford T. Ward.
The Dubious Circus Company.
Right.
And it's, would you like to see, would you like to see, would you like to see our show?
Right, oh, that was it, yeah.
And it was a jolly thing.
Yeah, so in 2009, you contacted me out of the blue and asked me if I'd be interested in joining the FAC, the Featured Artists Coalition. What was your involvement with that? And why me?
Well, basically, I used to represent the International Music Managers Forum at WIPO in Geneva, which is the World Intellectual Property Organisation, which is an agency of the United Nations. And I've been involved with negotiation of international treaties and all sorts of stuff. How I wangled myself into that, I have no idea, but I did. And they said to me, well, it's all very well having a managers organisation, but we'd really like the artists themselves. And I said, okay, well, I'll go back and think about that. So I went back, to the MMF in London. I said, look, they're saying they really want an artists' organisation, so the artists themselves front it. I said, that would be quite difficult because artists are so busy touring and everything else, it's quite tricky.
So useless at being organised.
Well, I didn't say that.
Yeah, no.
But
that's very tactful of you to say busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started sort of putting out feelers for people and with different managers. Brian Message, who looked after Radiohead, and I remember Nick Mason we got in touch with, and he was very interested. So we all got that together, and I thought, well, I know it's going to be really good, and that's Mark, because what you've done with crowdfunding and all that stuff with Marillion, which has been completely pioneering as far as I was concerned. You had done it.
Okay, so that was...
And interesting, in my book, How to Make a Living from Music, which is published by the UN, I do have a section talking about you and what you did, or what Marillion did. It's page 141, if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah.
It's called How to Make a Living from Music, and you can download it for free from the WIPO website.
I'm going to put a link on the podcast for people to download.
Yeah. Or you could buy a printed version now too, and that's about 50 quid.
Wow.
I'm a printed person, but is your book available as a download?
Not yet, but I think I think we need to do a Kindle edition, an audio edition at some point.
Yeah. I love the way you pick up on detail too, like the gig you did early on, where the stage lighting was a fluorescent light.
Yeah, it's true.
And you could either have it on or off, and you chose to have it on.
Yeah. That was the...
Because if you'd had it off, nobody would have seen you at all.
That was the New Bridge Memorial Hall in Wales. Yeah, it was just
fantastic.
Yeah, just we didn't have... I mean... our bad experience, or our formative years or whatever, was so short. It wasn't like horrible. Even when we didn't have any money and no food, and the van was breaking down and we were sleeping on the van floor and all that stuff, it was kind of fun because it wasn't our lives for too long,
Yeah. And you're young.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what it's like sleeping on a floor, Tallulah, I'm sure. Maybe not.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me is when you were living in that house and you went to take a wee and the
toilet was
wee
frozen.
just
Yeah.
back all over your feet because the loo was frozen because they couldn't afford heating.
Yeah,
The water
that
in
was.
the loo had frozen
We lived in
over.
64 Western Road, Aston Clinton. It was just a tiny little
That's
cottage.
when I thought, okay, that I wouldn't be able to cope with that.
That was where I was living when we went to visit David for the first time. So yeah, and I can remember Fish saying, "Oh, we're going to hitchhike to Aylesbury because it's not that far from Aston Clinton." And I remember thinking, "There's no way anybody's going to stop for us. Look at the size of this guy. You know, he looks like a murderer. You know." But they did. They did. And I was scruffy hippie.
I got fantastic memories of all that. Fantastic memories.
Yeah,
brilliant. But yes, on the FAC, you know, I don't know if you remember those early meetings, but they were quite interesting.
I do.
And I think I was at all of them, or most of them, as a sort of helping hand, if you like.
And there were some characters, that's for sure. People like Jazz Summers, my God, and and of course, you know,
Who's that?
he was a manager. He's not with us anymore, but he was like really old school, you know.
Completely.
Yeah, not.
What would he do?
But he was a bit like Fish, you know, but he had a lovely side to him.
Right.
He had a totally endearing side, and Fish has still got that, and he's had it all the way through, you know. But he's got the other side as well, and that's that's the tricky bit.
But
but people like Nick Mason, you know, we ended up putting Nick Mason on at Friars after that. You know, it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, Nick's lovely. Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billy Bragg, it was interesting meeting him. He's a real socialist militant, you know. Ed O'Brien, really nice, and it was fun. Although towards the end it just got too much for me, all the internal politics and stuff. I ended up resigning, as you probably know. But then I ended up coming to PPL because David was on the board of PPL. Well, you were an observer, weren't you?
Where you get paid to go to meetings.
Yeah, that was
as opposed to the FHC, which was entirely voluntary.
That wasn't the reason I did it, but no, I was.
No, I'm sure I'm sure it was.
No, I had no idea that I was going to get paid because I remember you saying you and I can't remember who else at the FA. It might be Brian Message said, "We need you to stand as a performer representative for the election at PPL," and I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And when I found out I was actually getting paid to go to the meetings, I was like, oh wow, that's good. Oh, David, I wanted to ask you before we stop. I saw, when I was going to get in contact with you about doing this, I looked on Facebook and I noticed that you'd been to the Palace. You had a post that you said you'd just been to a garden party at the Palace. What was that about?
Well, I was just invited out of the blue. They said, would you like to go, His Majesty has invited you to go to a garden party. And I think it came through our MP, actually.
Right.
But I'm not sure. So I said, well, we'd love to go there, you know. So went out and bought some shoes and stuff, you know, sort of thing I don't do, you know. And it was great. It was really good. Yeah, got to see, because I met Prince Charles and Princess Diana quite a few times back in the 80s because we did a lot of Prince's Trust concerts with Howard. But I'd never met him as king. And there is definitely a different aura about him now. I contacted you last week because of having read your book. There was one thing in it that amazed me, which was that when H first auditioned for you, it was in Pete's garage.
Yes.
Pete's garage in Aylesbury, and I live about 200 metres from Pete's old house and that garage.
Right, you can see.
And I look over there every morning from my bedroom. I can see.
Can you see the blue plaque on the wall?
Like, yeah, and I said to you,
no, of course not.
We should do. We should. I'll go and see them, the new owners. I should say, would you mind if we put a plaque on the wall?
If anybody can do it, David can. You know, he single-handedly organised and made a statue of David Bowie, which has been for the last 10 years in the centre of Aylesbury, down the bottom of the Market Square, bronze. statue called the Earthly Messenger. You can see it on there's a webcam,
Oh, wow.
like a live webcam where you can see it. But yeah, tell us about that. How did that come about?
Yeah. I mean, and Marillion was so supportive of that, and I'm be forever grateful to you for that.
I have to say, I was sceptical that you'd ever raise the money because it was a lot of money, wasn't it?
So, yeah, well, it's funny. Once you get focused, it's like Otway when he sells out the Albert Hall. You know, it's like, this is impossible. I'm selling out pubs. I'm still doing pub gigs, but I'm going to have a 2-year run at selling out the Albert Hall.
And did he?
And he did it.
Wow.
Yeah, he did it. Yeah. But every one of those little gigs, he was selling tickets or giving them the link to where to buy. And he'd push it and hundreds of little gigs. And suddenly everyone came together.
Wow.
You know, and he sold out the Palladium as well.
That's amazing. John Otway, he was the Aylesbury, you know, the son of Aylesbury. He was the biggest star out of Aylesbury. Fantastic. All right.
Anyway, if I can briefly get back to the Earthly Messenger thing. We had 30 days to raise 100 grand on Kickstarter. And with Kickstarter, if you hit the goal, then everybody pays on their credit card. They put their credit card down. If you don't get to that goal, nobody pays anything.
Right.
The whole thing fails.
Right.
We were 30 days, and 28 days in, we were at 50,000 out of 100,000. And I thought, well, we're not going to make it, but 50,000 is credible. You know, it's right. We tried really hard, but we didn't make it. And then the next morning, it suddenly started to move. And I was on the radio. I was on all over the place. We had, goodness knows, we were getting everything we could throw at it, you know. And then I think it was 3 hours before it ended on the 30th day. I was on the radio with Radio Oxford doing an interview saying that it's moving. And as I was doing the interview, my wife put the computer in front of me and we went to 101,000.
Wow.
And I said, fuck. I think I'm probably the only person that said that on live radio in Oxford. But, you know, I just couldn't believe it. And then in the end, we ended up at 115,000, 2 hours later.
Wow.
But the greatest thing was that you were there. We did various events with music, of Bowie's music and stuff under the arches there. And you would always turn up, and the band would turn up. Fantastic. And then you played that gig for us at the Waterside, which was a sort of benefit gig with Howard and with the Dung Beatles and with John Otway. And you didn't charge us. Well, you charged us expenses, but that was all. And it was because of that gig that we were able to finish the whole project.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's a nice tribute.
And thank you so much for that. It meant so much to me.
Pleasure.
It really did.
Oops.
Ooh.
Maybe if you get a blue plaque for Pete's Garage, you could do a gig there.
Definitely. I'm going to go around and see the owners and try and make that happen.
This is the garage where Steve Hogarth auditioned and joined Marillion. I think I can see it now.
Yeah. It would be. It'd be fantastic.
That would be funny.
I know the building so well because I walk the dog round there all the time.
But they would have people visiting, I suppose.
Yeah. That would be a problem. Perhaps we'll have it on the post on the gate at the front.
Not that
or something.
many people.
No, I'm joking.
Ooh, you'd be surprised. I did. I remember I did that Stagehand thing. In 1920 because I heard about
raising money for crew that couldn't work because of COVID. Yeah.
I heard of about 10 stage crew who had committed suicide during COVID. I found this little charity called Stagehand, which is the only charity in Britain that helps road crew. Because if you're out on the road the whole time, you live on the road, you live in buses, you go to a different band, you go from one band to the other, whatever. And then you're in your flat and you can't go out, there was that complete, lockdown.
Oh, it was terrible, yeah.
And they just couldn't deal with it. I mean, a lot of people just could not deal with it.
Well, we were lucky because...
So I had this target of £50,000, which I thought was a bit ambitious. But we did this thing with the Arctic Monkeys manager, where he said, look, I've done this crowdfunding thing where we put a guitar up, you know, as a prize, and everybody pays £5 for a ticket, like a lottery, and then one person will win it, and it'll be signed, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we did, and everybody came on board. Clapton came on board, Radiohead came on board, Mark Knopfler, who raised the most money, came on board, and of course you did. Marillion came on. And what you did, you put up 2 tickets to every gig we do for life. So these 2 people that won it, they can come to every gig you ever do. I are the guest list. That's such a good one. They can come to a whole American tour. Yeah. They could do, you know, and they get in for free every single night. And I thought that was such a brilliant.
I don't remember. I remember the prize. I don't remember who won it though. You'd think we'd know them personally by now.
Yeah.
You would do.
No, we were lucky because we were going to do a cruise to the edge and it got cancelled, but we'd already been paid a deposit, so we said, okay, we're just going to pay our crew as if they'd done a tour, you know, which kind of helped. I mean, it wasn't loads of money, but it was, you know, because like everybody was completely skint, you know, they had no income, you know.
Yeah. But they, you know, I remember everybody was amazed about how well Marillion did. I think you overtook Liam Gallagher at one point, you know.
Oh, right, yeah.
You were in the top 6 for raising the most money.
So now we've
with that prize.
We've rehabilitated our fans now after the Howard Jones story. They are generous, I have to say. We often raise thousands of pounds every time we play Port Zealand. We do charity fundraising stuff, and it's amazing. I mean, literally thousands. People donate, you know, for nothing. You know, there's no prize. It's just literally donations, you know. So very generous.
But then the record companies came in, and like Universal threw in 50 grand. You know, and various others. Sony put a donation in, and at the end of the day, we had $2.5 million.
Wow.
We raised on Stagehand.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That was all because I just woke up one day and said, we can't let this go on. Yeah. You know, and you just keep going, day in, day out, and that's where we ended up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
Really nice.
But you were very involved with that, and thank you very much again.
Thank you for inviting us. Well, let's call it a day there. That was a nice story to end on. Thanks, David. It's really nice to see you, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it was great to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually the second time we've tried to do this.
Yes. We had technical difficulties, like you turning your keyboards on and off.
Yeah, it still didn't work. But we'll see you in September.
September the 21st. There's some tickets still available.
Yeah, that's a good plug there.
We'd love to see everybody there. You know?
Yeah.
And it is the hometown of Marillion. It's a very special gig.
We'll be playing 1 or 2 numbers from the new album as well, so it'll be worth seeing.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you got a title for the new album yet?
We have, but I can't tell you just yet. It's going to be revealed soon.
Okay. I can't wait.
Great.
Is it the one I wanted it to be?
No. I think that came second in the end.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Right.
Fine.
Well, anyway.
Thanks, David.
Jolly good. Thank you. Real pleasure, and the best of luck with everything.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.